All right, welcome to a new edition of Between the Horns, presented by your Southern California Toyota dealers. It's Week 8 in the National Football League, final week before the NFL's trade deadline, and it's good to see some familiar faces. It's been a minute since we were all together in the same room.
Is that Maurice?
Jones-Drew.
Is that Maurice?
I feel like the airport really didn't like me last week. Like, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
LAX was shut down. I couldn't get down here, so I made sure. I talked to the boss man, Jory Hirsch, and was like, I'm catching the first flight out of Oakland this morning. So tired that I'd take a nap before I got up here.
Are you buying that? I think we should find him.
Well, I'll pay the fine. I'll pay the fine for sure.
I think we're going to go some good things on Between the Horns here, but I wish that our audience could be with us before the show, because that's where all the good
That's the fun
stories
stuff.
are.
Oh, my God. It's the stuff we can't tell. Yes.
Before we move on to the Dallas Cowboys, anyone have any lingering thoughts on the one that got away against the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Just horrible taste, right?
Yeah,
I'm still not over it. Yeah. It hurts. It hurts. That's one you should have got. That is one you should have got. Can you actually say Pittsburgh is better than the LA Rams?
No, not at all.
But who walked away with the W? That's why it stinks.
Well, it's getting to the point where we believe the Rams are better than 3 and 4, but it's also Week 8. You're almost at the midway point, and until you go out and beat a team like the Dallas Cowboys that many people don't think you can or should to even things out, then that's just where you are.
Yeah, I really believe, like, the Rams dominated that game except for the scoring the points part, right? Mm-hmm. Like, statistically, better rushing, passing, defense, all that stuff. And we talked about it before the game. Like, you have to score points against the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you let them hang around for whatever reason, Mike Tomlin has these guys believing if they hang around, they'll find a way. Obviously missing the kicks, all those little things end up coming back to bite you in the end. But the Rams played really well in that game. I mean, they were running the ball at will. Darrell Henderson comes back, gets 18 carries, fresh off the street. I love it, you know. Puka Nacua with a huge day. I just want to see both Puka and Cooper Kupp have a huge day together. I think that'll be the next step for the Rams. But like you said, DeMarco, if you can put it all together, that would have been a complete victory, a complete team victory.
It's a reason for optimism, isn't it yet, that the Rams have played 7 games. They've had a path to victory in each of them, and yet they haven't put it all together. But then there comes a point in time where if you haven't put it together by the end of October, that becomes an issue.
You're out of the playoffs. Yeah, you are what your record says you are. No matter how we feel about how you played, moral victories only take you so far. But, you know, you keep stacking up these games that you should win and you come up on the L side of it. It gets frustrating. So moving on into Dallas, you know, this is the week where when you lose a game like this is where guys do something stupid like guarantee victory in the next game. Because you're so frustrated. So they haven't done that, but I hope they take that feeling that when they went to the locker room, letting one get away. I hope they carry that feeling into Dallas and remember that while they're there.
All right, let me lead you both through some news and notes from the Los Angeles Rams facility so far as they prepare for Week 8 and the trip to Arlington. As we know, Brett Maher, former Cowboy, will not be returning. The Rams have opted to go in a different direction. No final answer on what that direction is yet. They've signed Lucas Havrasik off a practice squad, so he's with them. Some other more veteran kickers auditioning behind the scenes. We'll see which direction they go. But I'll say this, as much as we all focus on Maher's mistakes last week against Pittsburgh, I think there's plays along the way and decisions along the way that could have kept you from having your field goal unit take the field for 50-plus yard field goals to begin with.
I completely agree. I think there were some third down situations. I thought there were some first down situations. And it's awesome to see kind of the evolution of this offense where it was always sideline to sideline runs, where it's more downhill running. I think you have to stay with that, though. There were the times where the Rams went pass, first, second, third down, and now you have to settle for a 50-yard field goal when it could have been run, play action, pass, or play action, pass, run, whatever it might have been, whatever the way the play calls went, I think would have been a much better once you. I know it's a more conservative way, but it kept the Pittsburgh Steelers really in, which opened up a lot of the stuff on the outside. And so, and those explosives that you saw the Rams have, those were created off of running the football, right? It was the defense having their eyes in the backfield, being able to get Puka Nacua over the middle or getting that crossing route when they're playing man-to-man, because you play man to stop the run. And so it just was certain things that I thought as the game went along, they kind of got a little bit away from the running game, which ended up hurting them in the long run.
Puka with his third Rookie of the Week honor in the National Football League, and the Rams have 4 total when you combine them with Byron Young's effort from a couple weeks ago. Hunter Long, the tight end that the Rams got back from Miami in that Jalen Ramsey deal, his practice window has been open, 21 days, where he might be activated off injured reserve. But the news of the week, Sean and Veronica McVay adding to their family, welcoming their first son to the world, Jordan. Fathers, the 3 of us. I know we're all excited for the McVay family.
Man, can that guy coach? Yeah, you had your baby on and off, like not on Sunday. Like you actually planned. That's amazing. But congratulations. That's huge. I mean, we've seen the evolution of Sean McVay, right? The youngest coach. Now he's a dad, Super Bowl champion. I mean, and there's still more to come with this guy. So it's been awesome.
I was thinking about having children and going to Dallas, and you guys both know that kind of has an intersection point in my life. In 2019, our second son was born on a Friday. My wife is still mad at me for leaving the hospital on a Saturday night and taking the red eye to Dallas. That game didn't go well for the Rams. I don't remember anything about that except how sick you were. You were green.
I turned green. That was when I was vegan, and then we went to Dallas. As you don't remember that, we went to Dallas. I was here in LA. We're vegan. Go to Dallas. There's no such thing as vegan in Dallas, and there you have it. Your boy just couldn't hold anything down. Never been that shit. I've only been to that shit agreed on boats. That was terrible.
That wasn't the trip to Dallas that I was planning on comparing to this week, but it happened to coincide. 2017 is the one that I want to draw a comparison to, and you guys let me know if this is too much of a stretch. But going back to Sean McVay's first year and that Week 4 contest where they rallied in the second half to beat the Cowboys, to me, that's when the whole rocket ship took off. That's when I knew that Sean McVay was up to something, that he was for real. That's when I knew that Jared Goff was a professional quarterback, right? That's when I knew the Rams had a chance to go from worst to first. I want to give you a chance to reflect on that game too, if you like. But even though the Rams are at a much different portion of their history now, I think there's that opportunity this week to go get the Cowboys to get back to 500 and to really launch something this season and beyond.
I think you're exactly right. Anytime you can beat the Dallas Cowboys, especially there, it gives your team a lift. I mean, it is America's team, so to speak. So you go down there and you win there, your Q rating is going to rise. But that game in 2017, I just remember in the first half, Zeke Elliott was killing you, absolutely just controlling that football game. And then it seemed like the defense just decided enough was enough. And guys that were okay getting to the football were actually starting to make plays, and you shut them down in the second half. So I'm with you. Defensively speaking, I'm like, I think you're at the embryo stage of something special if you can keep this up, and they did.
Didn't they move Michael Brockers around something in that game?
Yes,
to the strong side.
They did.
And then it was the safety turn linebacker.
Mark Barron
had a huge hit in that game that kind of set the tone.
Kapow! Yes, sir.
But it was the Gurley play for you.
To me, offensively, it was the Gurley play. It was a fly sweep action with Tavon Austin. Gurley acts like he's lead blocking, runs up the seam, catches the ball, makes a guy miss, and then you have the receivers crackbacking on guys when you could do the crackback, knocking guys out. And that was kind of that to me was the play of the McVay era that really changed everything, because you went out and hit the bully in the mouth. You went out and let's remember, Ezekiel Elliott just won. I want to say it just won the rushing title. They were rolling. They went 13-3 the year before. You went down there and you knocked them out right away. And so to me, that play kind of showed the creativity of Sean McVay, of how he was utilizing all his weapons, the accuracy of Jared Goff getting the ball out. That was kind of towards the end of the waiting to the 14 seconds to talk to him all the time. And then they just clicked. And then after that, it just got to rolling. So I'm excited. You know, history repeats itself sometimes. Is this another opportunity for the Rams to go down?
Yeah.
I think the undergirding of this roster is so much about the class of 22 and 23. And the 22 group had it hard last year. The 23 group's experienced some success, but they haven't put a complete game together yet.
Right.
If you have that opportunity and you can capitalize it on this weekend, I think it sets a course at a different point in this season, just like that win got the Rams to 3-1 and set them on a course back in 2017. Now, Greg Zuerlein had to hit 7 field goals in that game to win that one. Let's hope that that's not the formula the Rams need here against these 23 Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, no. I mean, it was for place kicking now, 40 and in. If it's 50 and out, that's all Matthew Stafford.
I think we're kind of saying the same thing, like lean into that 4-down mode identity. Structure your game plan, your play calls to leave the keys in one of the most efficient offenses in the league's hands, right?
The one time I made the playoffs playing, we went for it on 4th down once we crossed the 50. Every time.
Every time. Yeah.
Every time. Like, we knew it was 4-down territory for us until we got in pretty much a very similar situation. We added John Carney, who was an older kicker who couldn't 35 and in, he was automatic.
Money. Yeah.
Right? But that 40 is a little tricky. So we just kind of did our thing that way. But what it does is allow you to be aggressive, and it gives your offense that mentality of it doesn't matter what's going to happen. We know. Like, I think if you want to think of it now, is look at Philadelphia. Right? They know when they get to 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, we don't even send the punt team out there. We're going to get on the ball and do our quarterback sneak. It's a mentality that gets and then kind of permeates throughout the team.
Or even 3rd and 4 to 3rd and 6. It gives you the option to be stubborn and run the ball at midfield or in plus territory. The Cowboys are riding a 10-game home winning streak. It's the longest in the National Football League. Wow. And as we get into the importance of this game, yes, the trade deadline hits on Halloween. The Rams are 2 games away from their bye. So there's all sorts of implications when you travel to face a team that's also on that NFC wildcard bubble. But here's how I frame it, is the Rams right now are playing in 2023 for the chance to go take a road trip to Dallas in January. Or maybe it's to Philadelphia or to San Francisco or to Detroit. Who knows? And I'm not saying they can't rally to win the NFC West. Prove me wrong. But I am saying that right now it looks like you're going to be in contention for one of those wild card spots, which means you're hitting the road to play a division champion. So you might want to prove that you can go to Dallas and play a game that's worthy of wild card weekend and not just show up in the playoffs, but beat a Cowboys team and do some damage.
Prove it to Dallas, prove it to yourselves, prove it to their fan base, prove it to everybody. Prove it. Look, all that is going to take care of itself. But I think what you need to do right now is go back and correct what just happened in SoFi. Because, like you said, that was one you should have had. And you could have set yourself up nicely for the stretch run or the middle of the season. And Dallas, to me, is a team that's ripe right now. I think if you play your best game and they play their best game, whoever has the ball last will probably win this football game. So, and if you do the all-22, have you done this before? You put all the names in the hat and pull your best 22 players out. How many Rams are you pulling off that on offense? A couple, right? How many on defense? I mean, maybe Aaron Donald and Micah Parsons. But other than that, take your pick. So I think this game stacks up well for both football teams. So whoever has the ball last will probably win this football game. But I agree with you 100%, JB.
I would say, the whole mentality of burn the boats, right? When you're going over to conquer someone, you got to burn. It's easier the second time to go on the road again after you burned the boats and did what you had to do. Now it's like, oh, well, you know what? We've done this before. Let's go back and do it again. And the way the league sets up with the scheduling and different things, like, you're exactly right. You go into Dallas, you win into Dallas, you have confidence you have to do that again. We've done it. We've been here before. We can do this again. If you win in Dallas, now it's like, okay, well, we got to go to Detroit. We've done this before. We've been into a hostile environment in a game that we weren't technically supposed to win and go out there and played well with young guys, right? And so to me, it's having that experience of being in there. A lot of these young players are going to have to understand Dallas is hostile in a different mindset or different word than it would be to go to Philly, right? Philly's a different hostile. Right. And so when you go into Dallas, you got to go in there. There's going to be all the stars are going to be there. People are going to it's all this other stuff that in the stadium. You got to go in there and focus on what you have to do and start fast. If you start fast, I think you kind of jump on Dallas and they kind of fold a little bit.
And that's the cool thing. You're not going to be shocked by that stadium if you're a rookie. Consider where you play in SoFi. Right. So you go there. It's like, oh, OK. Kind of looks like ours. You know what I mean? Yeah, no big shock.
I mean, you guys know me. I'm guilty to a fault of looking at the standings, playing out each week's scenarios. Yeah. But I have to remind myself, and I think this is the perfect example, like you look at Week 8 and Week 9 on the Rams schedule, you don't need to wait for January for the playoffs. This is playoff football right now. You go to Dallas, you go to Green Bay, you come away with 2 victories. It changes the course of your whole season, and I think the National Football League is looking at you in a way that your underlying metrics show that you're worthy of. Right now, there are not 5 teams better than the Rams. You can get to 4 maybe, but like there are not 5 statistical teams better than the Rams have been to this point, and we all agree their best is still out there.
Oh, no doubt. I don't mind saying it. This is must win. How about that?
Oh, you're going to say it?
Let's go. Absolutely. I don't mind saying it.
Well, because you can always look at it from the dark side of the moon, which is, what if you don't get this?
If you don't get it, what happens to your season, especially with the trade deadline coming up? So absolutely, this is, if you want to keep We Not Me alive, you've got to come back from Dallas with a win.
Oh, you talked about not having your eyes too wide going to Arlington and playing at AT&T Stadium. That's because for so many of the Rams, for lots of reasons, this is a homecoming game. You talk about a rookie like Steve Avila. You talk about the quarterback, Matthew Stafford, who will lead his Rams back to his hometown for the first time. Here's what he had to say this week about traveling to face the Cowboys, the team that he grew up rooting for.
They're all football games, and enjoy playing in every single one of them. Every time I go there, I feel like it's a really unique challenge. Obviously, a really good football team every time we've gone down there. No different this season. They're playing at a high level, both on offense and defense, so it'll be a big challenge for us. But, no, I don't think so. I think just excited for the opportunity.
All right, so let's use Matthew Stafford's words there as a jumping off point for our quarterback comparison. Unlike Pittsburgh last week, I feel like this is a game where you're going to have to score touchdowns and you're going to have to score points to win. And that means you're going to put a lot on Matthew Stafford's plate, because you can't ground and pound the way that you did against the Steelers and try to win with 20, 22 points. You might need to get to 30. And you're going to have to do it against a pass rush that, I don't know if you agree with this, but to me, it's as ferocious, if not more so, than Pittsburgh, and it's combined with an offense that's a lot more dynamic.
I think it's similar. It's just it's Micah Parsons, and they move him around. I think Pittsburgh was two-pronged. They got two guys that can come off the edge, but Micah Parsons is an absolute problem coming off the edge. So whichever tackle he lines up on, or guard or center, because he can come from anywhere, you're going to have issues there. You have to control him, call out number 11. But, yeah, I thought Matthew Stafford last week was phenomenal. The scramble, that should have been a backbreaker for Pittsburgh, right? And it just did not happen. And you let him hang around and they won the football game. But take that exact same game plan, the way he played versus Pittsburgh, bring that to Dallas, and the way your tackles played versus those edge rushers. I think you have an excellent chance of beating the Dallas Cowboys and controlling Micah Parsons.
Because you made this point earlier in the week. Man, that Watt interception still grinds my gears. I'm sure it still bothers McVay and Stafford, but that was like the one time in that game where you really called his name. You felt his presence.
It's the only play he made, and you have to give him credit. Most edge guys will drop that. They'll knock it to the ground. He caught it, slung it, headed towards the end zone.
Like a receiver catching
Phenomenal play. But like you said, that was the only play he made in the game. That speaks to what the offense was doing against Pittsburgh last week.
I just don't know if Pittsburgh had like an Oso Odigizua, for instance, that kind of takes their defense to the next level. And it's why they lead the National Football League in pressure rate.
Well, yeah, Cam Hayward was out last week, right? That's kind of their guy that goes in. To me, it's the Cowboys, they can get pressure, but they do it in timely situations. If you look at when they played the Chargers on Monday night, the Chargers handled that rush completely until the fourth quarter, until a play needed to be made. And all of a sudden, here they come, like out of nowhere. Like Micah Parsons found Waldo. He found the guy he wanted to rush on, sack right away, right? Then there was immediate pressure the next play. So, again, the way to eliminate that, you talked about it, is those tight splits that McVay has. Like, keep them into a phone booth so your tackles can get a hold of them, motion shifts, get those things. And then the other part is this. You play against this defense all the time. It's the same defense the Niners have run. It's the same defense Seattle was running. So you know where the holes are in the defense. It's about getting to those holes quickly as receivers and getting the ball out, forcing Micah to kind of run. And then when he's off the field, because he does get worn down, take your shots then, right? Understanding, though, at the same time, they're going to utilize him the same way you utilize Aaron Donald, right? He's going to get to pick who he wants to rush on. So when you get that opportunity to go against him, you better have a running back chip him. You better have presence by someone else, turn the slide to him, different ways to help your quarterback and your offense get going.
Let me ask about Dak Prescott in the season that he's had. And really, week to week, he was all the way down after getting embarrassed by the 49ers defense, and then kind of came all the way back in that win over the Chargers, where he did it throwing and also as a design runner. He really struggles against zone for whatever reason. That's what kind of the next-gen stats say, that 3 of his picks, none of his touchdowns have come against zone coverage. Well, the Rams, as we know, play as much zone as any defense in the National Football League. Can that formula work if you keep the Cowboys in front of you and force them to put together 8-10 play drives?
I truly believe the playing off works in this game.
Playing off,
like the off coverage, soft coverage, because the Cowboys want to get chunk plays. Mike McCarthy wants to run the football and then throw the ball down the field. He's old school, right? Play action pass, crossers, all those things.
That's why Dak's depth of target has dropped all the way down.
Exactly.
Yards per completion. It's
all
back
those
at
things.
His rookie levels.
Right. All those things are about moving the ball down the field. And so understanding when you have that, is that opens up your quarterback. It's kind of like the old. He was the coach for the Buccaneers. He just the old coach for the Buccaneers before Todd Bowles. Bruce Arians? Yeah, Bruce Arians.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the same mentality. We're going to run the football, and then we're going to play action pass, and we're going to take shots vertically. And so that opens up your quarterback to hits. That opens up your quarterback to sacks. But it's a risk reward. Like no risk it, no biscuit is what kind of the mindset. So you have to understand, you stop the run on first down, he's gonna open this thing up to throw the ball. And then you've heard CeeDee Lamb complain. And even in that Chargers game, when you watch that game, Dak didn't play the best, right? It was a 4th and 1 where they got him on a QB sweep, and then he had a couple throws in that game. He's still struggling to find who he is. And so there's a lot of people in Dallas, there's a lot of noise in Dallas right now about him, and will he be back next year, all these different things. So he's dealing with a ton of pressure and distraction. If you're the Rams, you can create more pressure and distraction by going out there and having them start slow.
Some of those Cowboy fans are going to get exactly what they want if they let go of Dak Prescott. You'll get somebody else. I hope he's better. But I hope, shout out to Mike Tomlin and Matt Canada, I hope that Dallas did what Pittsburgh did and challenged Aaron Donald to go one-on-one with guards. Really. I mean, I could not believe Pittsburgh allowed Aaron to go one-on-one because he won every single one he was singled up on. So if they do that and you play zone, you'll have pressure on Dak, and then we'll see if he can pick up zone coverage. But if you want to go up-tempo and bring pressure like you did versus Pittsburgh, the one thing you can't do when you are getting guys home is waste that pass rush by letting guys catch it. You got to have tighter coverage in the back end, make plays on the football because, man, that is so frustrating. I don't know if you've had this before, or maybe you've had a breakaway run that gets called back due to holding. It's frustrating, right? Same thing when you're rushing the passer and you knock the quarterback down, or you give him a good shot and you get up and you look down and it's a first down.
Are you talking about that third down play to George Pickens up the seam?
There's a few.
No one's there. But this is the thing. Like, the Rams they did some exotic things against Pittsburgh that I haven't seen that defense do. And when you practice those things, you rep those things, but it's not something that you do all the time. You're going to get those type of things, right? Where you have Kobe Durant playing safety, and someone's going to have to run with Pickens as he's running up the seam. I know you're getting two verticals, but someone's going to have to cover something here, right? You just can't let the inside guy go, but you got to get used to doing those things over and over again to kind of get the kind of coverage you want on the back end, right? That was a pressure that I've never seen the Rams bring before.
Well, look, when you're not sliding to Aaron and you're allowing that guard to go one-on-one, that's going to open things up on the backside where you bring a backer, he eats up the running back, and then the safety comes right behind him, right to the quarterback. They almost bisected Pickens on the first drive. So that stuff was getting home. The problem is later on, you were wasting those good blitzes, wasting those good hits because they were completions on the other ends. There is nothing more frustrating and more tiring than that for a pass rusher.
Is that your key to the game then as we transition to kind of the final segment of Between the Horns there?
You have to marry that coverage with the pass rush. If you're winning up front, and this is a team that's 29th in sacks, so every bit of pressure is so important. When you're getting it, make sure you're tightening up in the back end and you're paying that stuff off. And vice versa. If they're covering their butt off in the back end, you make sure you're getting to the quarterback. So that is my key for beating Dallas.
To me, it's going to be the same thing that it was last week. I think a balanced diet offensively, where you get the offensive line taking control of the line of scrimmage, right? Moving the line of scrimmage. We talked about not allowing T.J. Watt and Ali Highsmith to take over the game. It was because you had them on their heels. You were running the ball, play action pass, quick screens, different things all over. You utilized your whole offense, and no one knew what was going on, right? And it was just a one turnover coming out of half when you just did regular drop back empty. So continue with that and continue growing with that, running the ball with Royce Freeman, Darrell Henderson, letting those guys kind of wear down the defense, and then take your shots. The other thing I will say, part of that is get Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua going at the same time.
Oh, man.
If you can get both of those guys 100 yards receiving, 5 to 8 catches, that's a different animal than most teams have seen. And if you can find a way to get that going, I think that's going to be huge. Running the ball and getting those two guys going in the passing game.
I hear you. I feel like they have got that going, but the Rams are just leading the National Football League in drops.
Yeah.
And that's what's so painful still about the Week 7 loss and at points this season is we expected growing pains from this young group, but there have been critical mistakes by, in a lot of cases, your captains, right? Like the Higbee drop last week, the Kupp drops last week, the Stafford interception last week. To me, if your leaders play well this week, you got a chance to go toe-to-toe with the Dallas Cowboys. And then the other thing is I'm really curious to see how this kicking situation resolves itself. In fact, I want to throw to what Sean McVay said about kind of his introspection and how the uncertainty at the kicker position might influence his offensive game plan this week.
Each week, entails a little bit different approach. And I think when you get to those situations, all right, how do you call third down? What does that get you to where you're deeming it? All right, this is where we're going to go for it, or we feel like we're going to kick it. And a lot of those things are predicated on, the stadium that you're at. And SoFi entails an operation where it's clean, it's an indoor, if you will, basically because of, the weather doesn't end up being a factor in regards to how the stadium is set up. And so ultimately, all of that being said, there's a lot of things that go into it, and those are things that you want to consistently and intentionally be better about for our team. And that's an exact conversation that I've had with myself and with other members of the staff as we move forward.
So we kind of talked earlier about embracing that four-down mode. I guess a way to summarize that as the key is whoever ends up being the Rams kicker this week, let's have him just focus on extra points. Because I think
kickoffs.
No,
kickoffs.
Okay.
You just got to worry about putting the ball between the goal from the 20, the 15-yard line.
33-yard ones. That's all we need.
That's all you want.
Almost every drive and a kick.
And almost every drive and a kick.
Or I guess it's still end every drive and a kick. Extra point. I'm with you.
I just think you're saying favorable down and distance. It does two things. One, it keeps the Micah Parsons of the world out of your hair. Mm-hmm. Two, it gives you the chance to maybe be a little bit more aggressive on those 3rd and 5 and less and those 4th down potential go situations from at or beyond midfield. That's the way I'm thinking.
No doubt. And look, based on what Watt did last week, I'm still not removing Micah Parsons from my best defensive player in the world right now going strong outside of Aaron Donald. He is still that guy. He can wreck your whole season in one game. So respect him.
The funny thing is, it's just him, though. Where last week you had two. You had two guys.
See, how do you feel about DeMarcus Lawrence? We talked about this. He's still a problem.
But
he's having one of his best years.
He is, but
he's in the league.
But he's still like a run stopper to me. He's a power guy.
He's not
the Pittsburgh had 2 bookends that can bend the corner. You got a guy that's going to go through you and a guy that can bend the corner. That's different.
I get the sense you guys don't want to wrap this up. You got more keys to the game? How about everybody go vegan this weekend?
No. Hey,
no.
For all my people out there, don't go to Dallas if you're vegan.
Stop it.
It's the worst thing to do.
Safe travels, everyone. Looking forward to Week 8. This one feels like a playoff contest, right? Rams at the Cowboys coming off their bye. For MJD, for DeMarco Farr, I'm JB Long. This is Between the Horns, presented by your Southern California Toyota dealer.